Good morning, Professor. Mauro Bertagnin. I am Mohamed.Yassin, PhD candidate at our university, University of Udine, a great university, engaged in multidisciplinary research program in economics, ecology, landscape, and territory. And I'm here to do this interview because of your expertise and your knowledge on the heritage in general, global heritage, and the cultural heritage, and your engagement in huge projects involving United Nations, UNESCO in Africa. And for this here I would like you, I know that who you are full professor in architecture, an expert in earthen architecture, and with wide and vast experience from Harvard to Africa to Timbuktu and so on. I would like you to introduce yourself briefly, so from that we can start our interview now, which will be focusing on the Nile Basin heritage in particular, and the heritage at global level. So please.
Okay. Thank you for your short introduction, Mohamed. Introduce myself very briefly. Since as you correctly mentioned, I'm an expert of earth and architecture, devoted all my life to the sustainability of the architecture and basically on earth and architecture. After a long experience in Africa, as you mentioned before, I was part of the panel of experts setting up the most ambitious project dealing with the conservation of earth and architectural heritage all over the world. This project is named WHIP, World Heritage Earth and Architecture Program. It is a very, very interesting program. I have here the brochure of this project, which clearly state all the steps that were followed the project. As you see, the project starts in 2007 and will finish in 2017. In this span of 10 years, we just developed, and now we are entering.
Who are you? We? You are saying we. Yeah. Who are the partners?
Yeah, the partners are very important partners. There are institutional partners that are UNESCO, ICOMOS, and then ICROM.
What is ICROM?
UNESCO. ICOMOS is the International Center for Conservation of Monuments. It's the most important World Heritage Center is the most important international institution dealing with the conservation of monuments all over the world. Then there is also ICROM, which is an international group of nations creating in Rome a Center for Conservation of architectural heritage. And then there are two other partners. One is EPA, c'est l'École du Patrimoine Africain, is a school of African patrimony heritage based in Porto Novo, in Benin, and the other is the CHDA, Center for Heritage Development in Africa, based in Mombasa. So one is for French-speaking Africa, the other for Portuguese and English and Spanish-speaking Africa. And by side of all this big institution, there is also the small University of Udine as partner of this ambitious project.
And you are the leading scientific counselor of this project.
Yeah, I was asked to become the scientific counselor thanks to my expertise. Is more than 40 years I'm working on this subject. So I was asking to lead together with other colleagues, of course, this project, and I carried on since the beginning. The presentation was in 2007 in Bamako in Mali, when the project was presented officially, the 10 years project was officially presented.
So you mentioned Mombasa.
Yeah.
And Mombasa is one of the towns in the Nile Basin countries. You know that the Nile Basin is composed of 11 riparian countries, of which Kenya is part. So this project is also touching our territory of interest and the Nile Basin.
Yeah.
Or it is not, because
for sure.
the Nile Basin,
you know,
when I say the Nile Basin, people think about Egypt or something.
Being your interest focused on Nile, everything must go on the Nile.
Yeah.
But obviously our project is not specifically targeted to the Nile, but naturally in the more stay the less. Then Nile Basin is in the less, in the big more, which is earth and architecture.
Okay.
It's interesting because if I'm thinking to Nile Basin, first of all I'm thinking to Nile, then I'm thinking to Egypt. And if I refer to my expertise, Egypt means earth and architecture, Nubian area basically, and means Hassan Fatih, who was the outstanding...
For you, the Nile is Egypt.
Yeah, everything is Egypt starting, you know.
But the Nile is not only Egypt.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just in my mind, say what happened in my mind, that immediately Nile means inundation, means secondary school where they explain me what is the Egyptian civilization, you know. But in fact, I came back to Nile through the earth and architecture because we set up a conservation project for the outstanding project of Hassan Fatih in New Gurna, which was a sustainable earthen village built by him and his team in the 30s with nothing. I mean, only using mud brick local architecture, mud brick, water and straw, nothing else. And was able to build a fantastic area, so we are trying to preserve it. Yes, what's the big Nile is a big challenge, you know. It's one of the biggest river in the world, you know, and touching how many countries?
11
So, you know,
states.
This is a big. I'm not so found in Basin. I'm more found in Niger, but that's another history. It's a other parallel big river. No,
the Niger River.
Yeah, for sure. I was more in this along the side of Niger River in my life than in the Nile, apart the beginning of my experience in Egypt.
I know that you have experience also in Ethiopia.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I'm working to a project of conservation or promotion of fireproof building, traditional building, because there is a problem of burning in the village in the central Ethiopia. A lot of problem with burning of the traditional village, vernacular traditional building. Just would like to point out that the word vernacular is particularly interesting for the topic you are addressing, which is the Nile Basin. But the architecture and the heritage is vernacular, means homemade. You know, everything is homemade. Vernaculus was the slave born in the Roman villa, and that means a product, real natural product of the site. I know that Nile Basin you are investigating with your. I take the opportunity to congratulate you for your big challenge you are working since I met you first time in my university, and I would like hopefully to help your research also with this interview. So how can we go on?
how we can address these challenges which are facing, and what type of challenges we have, the heritage of the Nile is facing, according to your experience from climate?
According to my experience, there are many challenges that are going on. For instance, the climatic one, that is a big problem. For instance, dealing with the earthen architecture, I was facing in different areas. For instance, in the Himalayan area, which is 5,000 meters high, dry climate with the snow, hard snow and ice, and Timbuktu, arid sand, flat land. Same problem of flood. It's incredible how the global change is affecting the earthen architecture at 5,000 meters and zero.
The global climate change?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So that's amazing, So surely one of the major challenge for the Nile Basin heritage conservation will be the climate change. That's my first. Rainfall, increasing rainfall. For instance, in Timbuktu, we were facing in 2007 hard rainfall, which affected the earthen heritage of the town, because earthen architecture is made with earth and is not conceived for hard rain. It was more for dry climates, as was since the beginning Timbuktu. This is the foundation of the town by Tuareg. So now you are facing 10 days of continuous hard rain. Clearly, it's just like you take a shower for 15 minutes, is okay. But if I put you under a shower for 1 day, your skin will be surely destroyed, or in any case damaged. That's what's happening in Timbuktu. So we were forced to set up an emergency conservation plan, and I carried personally the conservation and reconstruction of 50 houses in the frame of this project. So, to my opinion, this is the main, not the main, but one of the most important challenge for the future of the Basin area is the climate change. How to face properly the climate change. This is one of the first that come in my mind. But naturally there are many other. For instance, if there is a rain, can be drought also. Depends. That can change. Obviously, flood and etc. But among this challenge, there is also a pressure of human pressure. Demography. We know that along for instance, and what is health, also because a river means also health. For instance, is well known that along the Egypt part of the Nile there is a sickness due to the people that go and inside they take a bath in the river and they catch this terrible disease. Bilharzia, which is not this is a big issue. I mean, to face. So just to show how pressure, human pressure, health, climate change are different issues that can affect the future of the basin. Also, to my opinion, another important issue can be the human pressure along the river due to the need of to settle there in informal way. I was devoting part of my life in the research. When I started teaching in the Faculty of Architecture in Algiers, I devoted 5 years on working on the research of the impact of the informal settlement in each nation, in each African or South American town. I studied deeply the informal settlement in Algiers, and then in Egypt, and then in Nigeria. So my idea that is also a very important issue, which working for creating a sustainable future for the Nile Basin. So the outcome of an increasing human pressure along the river, no? Is a road in some ways, a liquid road. Let's see this enormous basin as a liquid road. In fact, is my experience, as I mentioned before, is more on the Niger River. But I know that along the Niger River there are in Mali an increasing number of settlements, informal settlements along for trading. You know, there are a lot of trading because, for instance, Timbuktu, in the Kabara neighborhood of Timbuktu is facing the Niger River, and is there where camel meet the pirogue. Means the big traffic coming from the North Africa, from the Taudini mines of salt, and the other caravan coming from Niger, etc., are trading with Black Africa pirogues. So they exchange salt with other foods and other items. That's very interesting. I imagine I'm not an expert of the Nile Basin area. I mean, not in deep way, but for my experience, I can say, okay, along this liquid road, surely in the future you will face such kind of pressure. I notice along the Niger one. So probably that will be, it's just one challenge. The transformation also of the climate due to the dams, for instance, that can be another, for what I know, are planned a lot of new barrage along
they are planned more than 25 or 26 new dams, if not more than that, and that is going to alter the flow of the river.
I remember when I was student at secondary school, I remember this Italian barrage of Cariba dams, in Nile, and that was a big issue because change the climate was a moving, removed some monuments. I remember cut in pieces, the big Egyptian, and resettled elsewhere. I mean, that's our big challenge.
Yeah, this is also a necessity of development, because these countries or these riparians are very poor in terms of energy and hydropower. So these dams are part of necessity for their development and needs to have energy security. But how to balance between this development and the nature conservation and environmental conservation? From your experience, I know this is big question.
No, I can.
But you can give me insights in that. That would be
I
good.
can only talk about my experience in this specific
we
area
build on
of
experience. We learn from experiences.
For sure. Before the interview, we were talking about landscape. You remember? We were a little bit discussing what is the role of the landscape in this area. For instance, in Mali, I can give an example that can be particularly interesting. There are 3 sites protected in Mali now. That's a 4th incoming site protected by World Heritage Center. In the list of UNESCO list for protection. Thank you. You want to show this World Heritage list? Is that one? You mentioned. Among these 3, one is obviously Timbuktu, The other is Genet, which is a very interesting earthen architecture town. Both of them are earthen architecture towns. So it's amazing because in a country like Mali, heritage architectural heritage means earthen architectural heritage, nothing else. No stone architecture heritage. No, there is no Florence, there is no Venice. There is Genet, which is a sort of Venice. It's made along the river, but there are boats like gondola, I know, you know. So, and the third is the Dogon country. The Dogon country is very interesting because we introduced there the idea of a cultural landscape, Dogon cultural landscape. This is the label which was protected, Dogon cultural landscape.
So you think the Nile could be a cultural landscape to be protected?
Yeah, that's I don't have one answer. It's a multi-dance, but for sure along the Nile we have to find out some areas in which can be transformed or labeled as Nile cultural landscape. You know, cultural landscape is clear. It's clear because when you face such heritage is a multicultural heritage, not one heritage, not so clear, not detailed sometimes. There is an incredible mix-up in between tangible and intangible heritage. There are some songs, traditional song of, I don't know, people, fishermen along the Nile that has intangible
heritage.
Intangible heritage. And together the dresses of the woman along there, and they mix up with the earthen architecture of the border of the river. So everything is mixed up, you know, and the food they eat, the fish, the way can be a mix-up. So I think that cultural, for me, from my experience in Mali heritage, the concept of cultural landscape is very, very interesting and very, very affordable and very, very correct for such kind of context.
Yeah. What is the approach or the methodology you are following in these big projects?
Thank you for the question.
And what are the impacts and how you evaluate or assess this impact?
This is really a very interesting question. I will answer listing in some way which was our approach. First of all, there are two main goals. They are not part of the methodology, I mean, but the first was helping the poor of the area, how to fight against the poverty.
Poverty elevation, okay, good.
Through the project.
Okay.
So the WIP project was helping to fight poverty. First, that's the background. It's not
the objective. It's the main objective.
Second, very important, is to help the situation of women in the site. How to improve the condition of women in the village in which we are working. That's two very interesting issue. The column from right and on the left of our project. For what concerns the structure of
How do you do that?
Yeah. Oh, that is the result. For instance, during an educational stream, we were involved 50% of women. For instance, for like we did with the CHDA based in Mombasa, Center for Heritage Development in Africa, we were working 50% of the guides, tourist guides, were women.
What they call gender balance.
Yeah. So this was very important. It's a choice you do to educate 50 and 50. That's just a small result, but very important. Going back to the main structure of the project, the tree of the project, the first is very pragmatic. is pilot project. So you cannot afford a problem like the poverty of the heritage conservation only with one approach. You have to go very humbly, going with some small pilot project on the field. You invest little money, energy there, you check the result of your work, and you, with your feedback, you go back for improving other action on site for other nations where we are working.
Okay.
This is our methodology. First pilot project.
Okay.
Investigating before setting up a pilot project, checking the result and feedback. That was the first. Second, research. You cannot work, we are academics, so for us research is basic. How can you improve the situation on going on site? You can imagine me, I come in I never been in South Sudan, so I come there from Europe, I come there without knowing nothing about your situation, about your culture, about your, how to improve, how can you help an improvement of the situation, the local situation, if I didn't study and made research before on some topic. So research is basic also for us. So we set up, I mean all the equipe involved on the site. Me, I'm just one person among 100 that were working on site for different purposes. Education, pilot project, conservation, traditional improvement of building, etc., etc. So it was a multidisciplinary and multi-purpose project. Research. I'm actually, for instance, making research. I made research on 4 sites. I mean, for instance, in all, for one part of my research with Harvard University, we were working for 10 years on minorities quarter in all Morocco, Turkey, Italy, and Egypt. So we did research on that. So I mean to understand what is the space of minority in order to protect such kind of heritage. From the other side, I made research on typology of earth and architecture in Mali, in order to understand how, for instance, the Moroccan house in Udine is different from the tucular house in Udine. How can you understand the difference in between one typology and the other? One typology explain you the root of this way of living. People came there, Moroccan came to Timbuktu with camels and with horses, partially with horses, and they gave in the site their way, lifestyle, the way they inhabit, providing this Moroccan house, which is peculiar of Moroccan people. And by side of that you can find the tucular house, very interesting, made both with mud brick, but totally different. So this was part of my investigation, understanding how people conceive their house, how typology provide information on the culture. So you protect a house, but you have to understand what is the house.
This is good, because you are privileged here to come with people from Harvard, and you are lucky to be part of this.
That was for the north.
Yeah, for Morocco
yeah.
or this. But in terms of capacity, what capacities you leave to the local people so that they can carry on after?
Very good.
Yeah.
This is, you anticipate my third issue, which is training.
Okay.
We were working hard on that, investing a lot of money, not me, obviously, not my money.
The research
from the World Heritage Center. I want just to mention Professor Francesco Bantarini, who helped me a lot on that, and Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs, who financed a lot of my research. Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs financed a lot of my research, namely Timbuktu. I just finished the Timbuktu Manual of Conservation, made thanks to the founder of Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Training is basic for us, because through the training you can improve the situation of local people. I mean, at different level. Women, young people, guides, touristic guides, politicians, people who are the different stakeholders that can affect positively, hopefully positively, the heritage conservation. You know, so we were making short courses with some package in French. We prepared in French and in English some package of educational package in order to provide training for conservation. What means, what are the international rules for conservation, what means the word conservation, what is the literature on that, how can you really help the conservation of a certain village you are working in, how can you work properly with your local stakeholder, can you work with the woman, how can you work, so it's very interesting. Training was another pillar of our work on that.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is to work on training also
in
the basic conservation area.
Yeah, but you know, recently there were also acts of vandalism towards these cultural heritage sites and destruction with some extremist people and so on. How we can address this? Through what? Through advocacy, awareness? What? How we are going to do it? And was it part of your methodology?
Your question is very delicate. I mean, you know, it's dealing. No, I'm telling you.
But it is reality, so we have to address the challenges in reality.
Dealing with the iconography, Islam. There are some discussion about that.
Not basically in Islam, but in general.
So in general,
because even the destruction could be.
So let's go with vandalism.
Okay.
Vandalism is more enlarged word. Vandalism is the writers. In front of Santa Maria del Fiore,
destruction
I can write "is me" with a spray. That's vandalism.
Yeah.
And then you are, I don't like. To my opinion,
let us call it assault on this. Yeah.
In any case, that is, I'm sure that looks absurd or sounds absurd. Is a sort of love, extreme love. When you know, you cannot think that I bronzi di Riace, no? That's so beautiful. If I destroy, by absurd, the bronzi di Riace is an act of violence, but means that I recognize their beauty, you know. So I'm afraid of their beauty, and so I try to cancel. I mean, that's is very absurd, but there are something. So we see the Buddha of Bamiyan, you know, everything was part of this entire. Unfortunately, there are things like that. This is part of another issue we were facing in our projects, awareness. You know, education and awareness is very important because, you know, I come in your country, for you it's not important the landscape, you know, or I don't know, you don't consider your house of the 15th century is the house of your ancestor, for you means nothing. For me it's a palace of 15th century. I imagine I come in South Sudan, you have this fantastic mad big architecture, and you consider it very poor, you want steel and glass house, that's modernity, and I don't like it. So it's matter of awareness. Okay. To my opinion, this is another keyword I will apply to your situation of the Nile Basin. How to improve the awareness of people considering the heritage. You know, that's a very delicate and refined approach to set up. Means education, means training, means also communication. You must find an expert for communicating, because, you know, you are a poor farmer of South Sudan. How can I come there and explain that the small mud brick mosque of your village is important? Well, for me, it can be destroyed. I was working in Ladakh with Buddhist cultural area, for them everything is cyclic. Life, death is a continuous circle. So, why conserve, preserve? Means nothing. Everything is destroyed and built up again. So let's focus also on the idea that conservation and preservation are cultural, European cultural issues. I mean, generally.
Not American.
I mean, no, also American then became, but I mean, generally speaking, is something then started in Europe. No? We decide that there are some discussion on how to preserve. No, Ruskin, on conservation is a big issue. I don't want to discuss now. But just to explain that training and awareness are very important to promote. So I have to convince people that the earth they are living is a alive heritage to be preserved. With training, I want, for instance, teach you and your community how to preserve the know-how, the building know-how they have, as well as the songs, no? The intangible heritage, the kitchen, the song. That's all. Awareness is very important. Otherwise, after you don't know the songs of your grandfather, and this is a lost. Is a bibliothèque that's gone.
Yeah, conservation of the memory is very important.
Memory is very important, my opinion.
Yeah,
so for me, awareness, I mean, is the last pillar. We were developed a lot. We're working on site on that goals.
And how you check the impact of these interventions?
We made, there are people doing that, making survey with the community on the result. They are expert, you know, like sociologists. They go they go on
impact
field and
assessment.
they check. They measure in some way the impact of the work we did, if the people are appreciated or they're not, you know. So generally, I discovered that these women were very much interested
in
to be involved in conservation than men. That was the general result of the research, the report of research I saw in Paris. But generally, there is a good, you know, when you work humbly with the communities, the community
teach you.
Yeah, and also understand the goal of your work. Why you come from Europe, risking something for little money just to have them to be aware, for instance, or to protect their heritage.
You mentioned it at the beginning of the interview. For the general mind or the general public, the perception of the Nile, it is Egypt. But in terms of heritage importance and cultural heritage, I was lucky to travel during my life or during this research from Egypt to Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and observe this diversity of cultural heritage, from the Nubia up to the Aksum civilization and so on. And I have seen also a lot of projects of interventions, but most of these projects are left behind after the intervention or after the international cooperation intervention, and it is just there.
Sure.
So the terms of the sustainability or continuity of this, and so now you, as you know, Professor, that we have an epochal passage now, or transition.
Sure.
Especially after this, the setting of from 2000 up to 2015.
We are shifting from the Millennium Development Goals to the
sustainable.
2015
the
sustainable.
So if you can give me insights on this concept. I know it is not a new concept, the sustainability, but if you can give me insights and how we can build this sustainability following these multidisciplinary approaches or transdisciplinary in the Nile Basin. I know that this is a Nobel Prize question, but your insight is also from your experience.
That's my methodology when I'm talking about something with students. I just try to underline what is the root of the topic. Sustainability comes from the Bertagnin report that first explained what sustainable word means. Means to bring the word from our ancestor and to give to our grandson, hopefully with no problem, with no disaster, what is not true, unfortunately. So sustainable is now everybody are talking about sustainability. Everything is smart, sustainable. You know, I'm always smiling sometimes when people feed their mouth with these big words. Sustainable
is important. So yeah, it is big word, but it's important concept.
No, it's very important. But you know, once you say, you cannot say mine is a sustainable approach, but you have to explain how your is a sustainable approach. It's not easy, you know, because it's multi-task approach. You have to set up. It's not easy. Anyway, my opinion is that we are living an epochal transition, for sure. An epochal transition in between hard and soft. From one side you have the hard disk, you know, and the soft technology. Everything is shifting, no? And we have hard architecture. I mean, you have the building, the Renaissance palace. From the other side, you have what colleagues from MIT the a new agora made with a spatial possibility due to the net. You know, a meeting. What is our meeting point? Now we are meeting together, but we can meet on the net. That is a spatial. There is no space in between us. So, what is soft and hard? That is very interesting. You know, digital, it's like solid and liquid. You know, we are talking about. To my opinion, this is an epochal transition. It's not easy to understand what is the role of sustainability in this moment, because it's at the same time an incredible mix-up of soft and hard, to my opinion. An example, from one side you have to work hard to produce food, you know, and at the same time you have to produce this food in a sustainable way. It means there are some soil that are no more productive. No, I discovered recently to the TV an emission that discovered that 30% of French soil are not more can be used for production of wheat, for instance. So they have incredibly French people import the wheat, the food for the bread. You know, so just the baguette is made for with foreign coming from the south of America. That's incredible. So we must be very smart. Another keyword, no, in order to work in this transition time. Sustainability is surely a long-term goal, but how, you know, how to be sustainable? Can we be sustainable working with the decrease? It's another important issue. I get involved with my university on the big discussion and
you mean the growth?
On the growth. How decrease the degrow? No, how to decrease, but how to decrease, how to degrow. How is the degrow in terms of economy? It means how can we pay people? Don't we have no more jobs, or you have to invent your jobs? It's quite difficult as approach. For my idea is that the sustainability development goals 17 for what I heard, must be checked one by one, and in each field we have to try to work very humble, like humble people, topic after topic, doing small project, and checking how this project can help small revolution in this field. You know, for instance, how you can feed the animals in a sustainable way. How can you know? Is complex. It's not one word, but surely, for what concerns another big issue I forgot to mention before, is the tourism. We were working on sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism means working with guides, promoting local guides, women, 50-50, helping that part of the income, the big, sometimes big income coming from the monuments, place it in one side, come back to this site. A portion of this income produced, for instance, in Tombouctou, come back to Tombouctou. If you come as a tourist to visit the Djingaribert Mosque, if you stay 2 days there and you pay the tourist tax, go back to the center. So what is to my opinion,
so creation of income locally.
A part of the income coming from tourism must have a fallout
on the local people.
That's clear. This is an experience we carried on in the past, and now we can say this is a very important approach concerning the tourism. And the tourism means also research, means awareness, and there are many other issues, you know.
Conservation of environment.
Yeah, and also cultural, educational, because you know there are also children involved, you know, sex, something like that. So there are many issues dealing with the tourism. So tourism is a very refined topic to be worked in appropriate way.
Now you mentioned very important concept of this degrowth. But if I take this concept to the African or the Nile Basin context, it will be totally rejected because they are trying to do their best to catch up because they are reduced to poverty and very weak infrastructures, bad roads and bad connections, poor communication and poor health centers and hospitals and so on. And this needs that they have to accelerate instead of just keeping the past back. And you cannot pay people there to remain unemployed because of the
Latouche approach. Yes, Latouche approach is not the one saying, okay, smart, must be smart, you know, you cannot. But for instance, me, with my background, I can in some way can be part of the degrowth, renouncing to something, consuming less, using different way. But other people know. I mean, it's a slogan, not easy to apply everywhere. Must be applied with I mean,
specific context.
Yes, in a multicultural approach. Very attentive to the different local situation. You know, cannot be a slogan, general slogan. So, me suggested. Well, I just mentioned the degrowth movement as one of the big world discussion issue going on. Actually.
Yeah. Now I have.
That is. Sorry, this is strictly related to the sustainability in any way.
Yes. Of course. I have a topic which is very I'm touching now, from the rapid growth which is taking place in some African or Nile Basin states, and there is urbanization. The rapid growth of urbanization, or what they call it, the urban sprawl.
Yeah.
And this is a headache for the urban planners in that territories. You have recently, I know that you have been in Ethiopia and you have seen the transformation which is taking place in terms of urbanization and rapid urbanization. You know, so if you can give me feedback on this insights, or in general, general guidelines
I touched with my hand many experiences like that in Algeria, in Mali, Mali, in Nigeria, and recently also in Ethiopia. It's normal that I would like talk by an example. During the 80s, the Algerian government made a big effort to invest in a modern rural village. They made 1,000 rural village, clean, a lot of investment in the different rural area of Algeria. Saharan context.
You mean the periphery, the outskirts?
Yeah, they made a new village
around
the area, different areas, north, south, center, Saharan area also, no? In the middle of Sahara. So I was working with a group of very interesting colleagues, friends, and pupils also, sociologists, some of them, and we were in cooperation there. It was a big 10 years ambitious cooperation agreement in between Italy, financed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, obviously, for a PhD on conservation and urban planning. And me, together with my master, Giancarlo De Carlo, we were involved in this project of cooperation, teaching at EPO, School of Planning and École Polytechnique Architecture Urbanisme of Algiers. So it was amazing to me studying now they destroyed the slums, I mean, around the town. And the sociologists went there in order to understand why all villagers, farmers came there from 1,000 kilometers far away for living in a slum around Algiers. And this was for me a fantastic discovery. Then 80% of people, listen, Mohamed, 80% of people answer was, why you came in the town? You are urbanizing yourself, coming from the village where you have everything, water, a house, everything is clean, small beach. Answer, because I won't take part to the urban life. I won't be an urban man of the city. I won't take part of the city, the light, la ville lumière. Voilà. Okay. I won't see. This is that's very interesting. That was me. I remember when we were discussing about that with the colleagues, it was really amazing. You know, this time the human being won't be part of this incredible miracle and spectacle, which is up to date the town. So going back, I think we're gonna finish.
I have going back, two questions. Last questions.
If going back to the Nile Basin, we will surely face an urbanization, a massive urbanization, in the certain nodal point, Cairo and other, not only capital, in some center which will be see a development, we will leave a development there.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered that.
No.
I have not the answer in my pocket.
I know even the answer for this question is not simple, but at least to have some guidelines or some traces which someone can follow. You mentioned that the international cooperation. I believe that the international cooperation and the scientific community or universities have a vital role to play in the heritage conservation. But little connections is done with these Nile Basin countries due to different level of development and understanding of the importance of the landscape or the heritage to the well-being of the people of the river Nile or the river basin. So what is your advice in this? How they can enhance, how can they strengthen this multilateral or bilateral or triangular cooperation? Through what? Through partnerships, through involving the private sector, through engaging research, more research?
Your answer contained just your question.
My question contains
the
answers. Yeah.
That for sure you have to set up a multilateral cooperation. And me, I was spending all my life in cooperation project. I don't know other approach other than cooperation. You know, means that each of partners put on the table his competences, his know-how, and we try very humbly to mix the competences in order to grow up.
Yeah.
I don't see other option. Naturally, each state partner can give different competences. Contribution, not only economic, basically. See, we Italian, we did a lot of competence in conservation. For instance, we are leader. I mean, we can say this. If I'm not too chauvinistic, we can affirm that we Italian we are leader in the conservation, both in urban planning and in conservation of painters, statues, etc.
I believe so.
So our background is in conservation. Our heritage, by the way, we have the 60% of the world heritage in our country. So, you know, it's natural for me, the answer.
Okay.
Cooperation
is a must.
Is a must.
Okay, so now I am going to, you know that our paper is selected to be presented in the African Day, which will be celebrated this week. And I'm going to present this paper on the Nile Basin heritage between trendy sustainable development and territorial transformation. So if you have a specific message you want to convey or to tell me here, so I can take it as key message to the people.
There is no one answer.
No messages. I mean, no answer. No messages. Key messages you want to convey.
No, sincerely, I don't have any direct messages.
You see, this type of interviews can be useful method also.
Absolutely, your method of interviews is very, natural, very warm. Helps if it's not, you know, like now we are not very informal, but is helping to speak fluently on what is your idea. You know. So, seems to me a very good tool you used, this of interview. I saw, by the way, all other interview you did with many stakeholders, with many people from different countries. I think it's very useful and helpful tool you used. No other suggestion. I mean, probably only one that. Creating after certain pilot project or some project a meeting, a congress discussing, and the retrofit, the feedback will be useful for the second step. My idea is going by step. First step, 3 years with a pilot project, with training, with research, with awareness. Building awareness, and then stop thinking and reflection, and then learning from the problems and learning from the good result, and going back for an improved step, next step. That's very pragmatic. That's the lessons I took from this project, 10 years long.
You know, my project is a PhD research, so it is 3 years research. So this is the process.
It's a long.
It is a long.
It's a part of your life.
Yeah, it is.
Your children will have from 3 to 6 years.
So last advice if you want to tell me to my research in general and how it is formulated, how do you see it? And you know that it has been selected to be presented at Triennale di Milano and Expo.
I know.
So
compliments, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. So if you have any specific advice you want to give me personally, so I can adopt or improve also my work and so on?
My personal advice is the following: that in each topic of your Nile Basin area, you can find elements for innovation. Innovation is the basic keyword, you know. But innovation, for what is my experience, is going back to the past, finding some that get lost, and try to reproduce and reuse for development. This is sustainability. And to my opinion, it's one of the approach I suggest, because it's very helpful for real sustainability, because sustainability is otherwise just a slogan, you know. So going back to the past, investigate, research, and reproduce lost tools of the past for new proposals. Improving the tradition, for instance, you know. Improving the tradition means that you can use, instead of oral writing, you are using innovation now, because you are using a camera in order to make
take notes.
Take notes. But once you just write with a pencil or a typewriter, you know. So you understand what I mean, because I discovered in this project that lot, for instance, dealing with earth and architecture, the largest part of the innovation we did is studying the tradition, the traditional know-how, prior to selecting the traditional know-how, what get lost technologically, for instance, no? How they use, for instance, in the past, the palm tree oil to waterproof a surface of a mosque, or how use the karité butter for that. Now, karité butter costs a fortune, but that was used, by the way, in Timbuktu to waterproof the surface during the annual sacred works that each citizen have to do in order to get his paradise after the death. So, I mean, that's just a small example, but I think with this approach, humble approach, you can reach big goals for the sustainability of the future.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor. I am so
you.
grateful for your time and this dedication. And
it was a pleasure.
I would like also to thank you above all, not only for this interview, but also for the good relationship which we managed to build during this time, and we hope that we can benefit more from your experience, and also we hope to see you in the Nile Basin.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.